Hello and welcome back, my YouTube crew. I am Shayna Cersei and I'm excited to paint with you today, as always. Today we are going to be continuing our journey on making simple designs for holiday Christmas cards. The upcoming holiday season is upon us. We are almost at December 1st. At the release of this video, it will be December 1st. And I'm very excited. Of course, if you're looking at this video in the future, it may be at a different time, but that's okay. So the two things we're going to do today, we're doing a theme here, as you can see. You need very simple colors. If you only have a couple of colors in your palette, this is a great project for you. And then we'll also be using one brush and Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. If you don't have this product, the Bleed Proof White, you could use white gouache or white acrylic paint if that's all you have available to you. I highly recommend investing in this. Check out the links in the description, which will get you to this Bleed Proof White under my supplies. I use this all the time. And you would know that if you look at other videos that I've done for different details and embellishments, but this one, it really is going to be kind of the star of the show. So you can see here, what we're doing is making simple shapes that evoke the holiday spirit. So you can use many others than these. You can do any kind of outline that you want, but I'm using a piece dove here, as well as a holiday ornament, a round globe ornament, as my two silhouettes that I'm going to be using to create these lovely designs. The watercolor, I'm using a single color on each of these. So in this one I did indigo blue. I did put a little green in the leaves, but you could leave them all indigo blue as well. And that was just because I got carried away and a little excited, but I intended to do them all in one color. And then in this one, I just used Alizarin Crimson. So you can use any colors that you want that go with your mood and feeling for the holiday spirit. You know, whether that is sticking with reds and greens. Blues are traditionally used in a lot of holiday decor when it comes to kind of evoking that mood and feeling. However, you can use any colors you want, so it's really up to you, and you can experiment and use different colors for different things. So let's get started. We're going to do both of these shapes here, but it's really the same idea when it comes to painting them. So the first one I did indigo. You could also use a phthalo blue with a little black in it, which is quite beautiful as well. I'm going to use indigo again, just so we can kind of repeat what we've already done there. And the paper I'm working on, this is a Fabriano student grade paper, 25% cotton. It's fine for this type of thing. I really love working on 100% cotton paper. So Fabriano Artistico has a lot of different versions of that, as well as Arch, which I work on a lot. You could use, for Arch or Arches, you could use 90 pound for a lot of these things that we're doing, which is about half the price of 140 pound cold press. So if you can find 90 pound, I find that when I'm doing very light paint, light water, holiday cards and things like that, the 90 pound works perfectly. Okay, so for this one, I'm just going to, you can see I drew my outline for my dove here. I will put these outlines in the Studio Crew. So if you are a Studio Crew member, you'll be able to get outlines that you can download and use as traceables if you have a computer and a printer. But I'm gonna be, you can use any shape that you want. So this idea can translate to if you wanted to do like a reindeer shape, if you wanted to do a sleigh shape or a Santa shape or a Christmas tree shape, whatever shape you want to do, you just need the outline. So with my dove here, the dove is a little bit more complicated than the ornament in that it just has more to its shape. So I'm going to start adding indigo. I'm just going to pick up pretty dark indigo. Indigo will dry and lighten quite a bit as it dries, but I'm just going to start painting it in almost in a flat wash as I start. But then I'm just going to add a little water to my brush. And my goal for this is to basically not have a flat wash in the end. I want some areas, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I'm not trying to communicate a specific shape or specific details. I just want it to be a little interesting. I want it to be a little lighter in some spots and a little darker in others. So right now I'm picking up a little more indigo and I'm putting it towards the head just so this part is a little darker. I'm going to add some water to my brush. There's no rhyme or reason to this. You can really do it however you want. I just want it to be, and I'll do each one a little differently. I just want it to be interesting in terms of my base that I'm putting down. I don't want it to be completely flat. I want it to have some highlights and some shadows. Even if you end up getting bleeds, or not bleeds, back runs with those little funky shapes and those little squiggles, I think that will work fine for this. Give it a little texture. But you can see here, this bottom of this wing is lighter than this other area. And I'm just gonna take some more straight indigo. And I still have to do that back wing there. I'm gonna drop some additional in the tail feather here in a few spots. And it's kind of wet on wet. This paper dries pretty quickly, so wet on wet is a little harder to do unless you just keep wetting sections. All right, so that's looking good to me. It's looking a little interesting. I'm gonna do this back wing. I'm gonna keep it lighter. And I keep hitting my jar here. It's because I'm trying not to hit the camera right above by raising my arm too high. Sorry. So I'm going to paint in this back wing. It's a little bit lighter, but I am going to add a little bit more towards the top while it's still wet, and just let it bleed down. But where they meet each other, I want the back wing to be a little lighter, so there's a little separation. Again, you don't have to do that. You can do whatever you like to make this feel a little interesting. And then if you want to leave the olive branch out, or the, yeah, it's an olive branch, right? With the dove. Or you can paint it in. You can leave it out, or you can just paint it in. I am going to this time paint it in the same, oh, I keep hitting my brush on the side of the water jar and it's like splattering on my paper. Again, I'm going to make each of these leaves just a little bit different than the other, some a little bit lighter. Put in the stem. The stem goes right through the dove's mouth. And you can't really see the separation of the dove's beak. It's just kind of a suggestion of a beak here. Okay. So now that's done, and we're going to let it dry completely, okay? And you can go back and add more color. I'm going to add more color because I'm crazy like that. I'm going to add some right here on this edge. There we go. And again, adding a little water, adding a little texture, not being too precious about it being even. I want some lighter spots and darker spots. I'm actually going to pull up some color down here. There we go. Okay, I think I'm done now. So now we're going to let it dry completely, and we're going to move on to the ornament, and then we're going to come back and put on our white embellishments. All right, so the ornament, super simple, and it's so simple it's going to trip you up. You could paint this in a flat wash, but I think you're going to like it better if you do similarly to the dove. Ornaments usually have, and I'm just going to pull some of this out so I can get some pure color, but ornaments have a sheen or a shimmer to them. Some of them are super glossy surfaces. Some of them have a matte, like luster finish to them, but they all reflect light, and they have they give off that sense of light. So they have shadows and highlights all over them. But the great thing about ornaments and being an ornament on a Christmas tree is the light comes from everywhere. There's no real rhyme or reason to it, yet our brains still know that it's rounded and reflecting light, and you know, you don't have to have a perfect sense of light directionality within an ornament. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start painting some alizarin crimson. And I'm going to go around the edge. I'm not going to go all the way around the whole edge. I'm going to start using my brush in strokes that would mimic brushing along the surface of the ornament. So this, if it was round and three-dimensional, it would have a surface like this. And you can see I'm letting it get lighter in spots and darker in spots. I am going to leave some white spots in my ornament, spots that I don't touch with any paint. I'll leave one right here. And you're going to add a few layers to this. Those are too much in a line for me, so I'm going to cover some of those up in the middle. And now with this one, you are going to play. You are going to play with it for a little bit. Ooh, so sorry to shake that camera. That's what I was trying to avoid. All right, so I have the whole kind of outside done. I have lots of areas that are lighter and darker. I'm going to start to come in with some more alizarin crimson and attack some of those areas and make them even darker. Now with this one, I will say you can add a second color. You could add like a dioxazine purple or a Payne's gray to deepen your alizarin crimson. So let's do that. I'm just going to add a little Payne's gray to this. Okay, so now I have a deeper color for some other shadowy accents. Let's throw some in here, throw some up here. Again, there's no rhyme or reason for why I'm doing necessarily, you know, other than I'm just trying to find the shape. If you see the shape of the ornament. But leaving highlights, leaving shadows. I am going to take my brush and I'm going to fill in some of these highlights just so they're not stark white. I'm going to leave that one up there. But just taking my brush in water and using the paint that's already on there. And then once you feel like you're done, like it looks like an ornament that has reflection and shadow, I'm going to add a little bit more. I feel like it has to be a little darker over here. Then you're also going to let this one dry too. A lot of times some of the darkest parts will be like right along the edge, as well as some of the lightest highlights. Pick up some of this. And again, you have to let it dry completely to really know what you're working with at the very end. All right, so we're going to let that dry. I think this one is just about dry, and then we'll come back to it. You can, like I said, with this one, we used a little Payne's gray. So I'm going to use a little Payne's gray in the little topper. So this one does have a little topper, which you can just sketch in with your brush. So it's those little crimpy things. You could make this gold, a goldish color, like a raw sienna would be like a goldish color. There we go. Just put in a little topper to it, and you can put in a string if you want on the final design, but we're not going to get into that yet. All right, so let's move back up to the dove, and we are going to pull out, we're going to rinse off our brush really well. We don't want any paint left in it because we want our white to be super white. I'm using a size 4 brush. You can definitely go down smaller if you need to go smaller. You could go down teeny, tiny, just so you get the most control. Or you can go bigger if you have a brush with a really great tip on it. You could go up to a size 7, 8, 9, 10. with a really good brush, you can go pretty large as long as it has a great tip on it. So the bleed proof white, you can use it right out of the jar. You can add a little bit of water to it. Mine's already a little watered down because I'm at the very end of the jar. So I just added a little water to it already to kind of prolong it. Not the best way to use it. A fresh jar is always better, but you know, we do what we have to as artists with limited supplies. All right, so for my dub, you're going to take a little bit on the tip of the brush. You don't want your whole brush saturated in it, especially when doing detailed work. Let's move this to the side. And you can see on this one, I just started making patterns. So some of the patterns I really like are these repeating this olive branch kind of leaf pattern, swirls, and using the white to embellish certain parts of the bird. This flower, this poinsettia kind of design here, flower. So that's what I'm gonna do. You can do dots and patterns and you know, you can do whatever you want. But I'm gonna start down at the tail, I think. And I want to kind of create, I'm gonna embellish the tail feathers. So I'm gonna start with this kind of teardrop shape. And I am just going to embellish these other tail feathers to kind of come around and meet. So now I've made a pattern down there that really makes that pop. I'm going to pick up a little more white. I'm going to try really hard to stop shaking my camera. From there, I'm going to bring along the belly and kind of up through the belly area. We are going to recreate kind of that olive branch flower or leaf pattern. So we're going to put these in there. And with this, in this one, I tend to try to make my white all opaque and smooth. I don't leave too many spots poking through, but in the ornament down here, you'll see I'm going to leave spots open and poking through. Oh, which I just ruined that one. I have drops of water. All right, I'm gonna make my leaves, oops, my brush is getting a little dry here, a little bit bigger. And this can be so therapeutic as you paint. Just painting patterns and designs and then pausing for a moment to see where you're going to put your next pattern in. So we've put in a really big kind of olive branch, so it kind of mimics this shape here and ties them together. Now I'm going to go up to the wing and I think I'm going to embellish. Hold on one second. There's like water drops over here. I keep running my hand through and then running them over. Okay, so we're going to embellish the wing here. And then we're going to stylize it by making some fun little dots in it. That's what I've decided to do. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to make a shorter one. I'll put a few more dots in that one. And then I'm going to make another shorter one, but I'm not going to add dots to these. I'm going to make a few of these. Okay. And then here I'm going to do a spiral just because that shape felt good to put a spiral in. There we go. And then on the wing behind, like I did over here, I'm going to add a kind of a poinsettia. I know I'm going to get made fun of for however I just said that. You know, the red Christmas flower. I'm going to just put some dots in the middle for the center of it, and then some leaves coming around. I'm going to do a lot of these in the next one. So kind of just filled in that shape, that bump, use that to advantage. And then I am going to, you can give your dove a facial feature. I want to give him a closed eye right there. You could also add embellishment to the olive branch if you just wanted to kind of outline those pieces just to bring them all together. You could do that. You could put dots in them or another pattern or design. But this can be a lot of fun. You can paint a whole bunch of these and then just change up the white pattern on it over and over again to make it kind of all come together. So the only thing I want to do is I want to do something here at the top of this tail. So I think I'm going to do a spiral out this way and a spiral out this way. And yeah, that brings that together. All right, so our dove is finished and complete and looks super fancy. Okay, let's get to our ornament. So the ornament is pretty dry. You can see it has shadows and light and reflection. My edges are a little messy because I rushed through, but we're gonna fix that with our white embellishments. You won't even notice it anymore. So what I'm gonna do is a whole bunch of the poinsettia flowers on here. And I'm going to start those by putting 4 or 5 kind of dots in the center as like the centerpiece of the flower. And then off of that, just pointy leaves. And I am going to make sure when I do this that I put some of my flowers on the edges and let them go right off the edge, and others can be completely in the center. And what this hopefully does is give a little bit of the illusion of this object being rounded, and it goes away from you, and you know, it wraps around, you can't see the other side. Now with this one, oh my gosh, this cord is just in my way. I keep hitting it, I so apologize. So with this one, I do leave some of the red poking through on some of these. I don't fill in every space completely. So you can see there and you can see in here. I let some of it shine through. You could certainly do it the other way so you can't see anything kind of shining through, that it's completely flat white, but I like that effect that it gives. So I'll do one there. I'm going to do one kind of like I did before over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put a 6th in there just to round that out a little bit. And then with this stuff, you can even draw out the outline of the leaf and then fill it in. Or you can gradually just create the shape by putting a bunch of strokes next to each other like that. Do pause in between petals to place your next one. I find that when I used to just get started, or if I'm really just not paying attention, my petals can get wonky or like really big on one side versus the other. So it's okay to pause. You don't have to go through this like super quickly. I have a big gap there. I might put another petal in there. I don't know. I try to get 5 or 6 around. I feel like it's supposed to be 5, but I always like end up throwing a 6th. But they don't have to be perfect. See, now that one's weighted too far to the side, so I'm gonna have to really commit and just put a whole bunch of petals in here. So the poinsettias, they're great because they are layered. They're a layered flower, so you can have some shorter ones behind. But I am going off script here. That's right. That feels better. It looks like it feels better. Maybe one more there, but I'm just going to move on for right now. All right, so let's put one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see, folks, if you rush or you feel like you have to get it done like really fast all in one like thought process, you can mess up. even though I already painted this, I've painted this multiple times, but I was rushing for you lovely folks who are watching. And it didn't come out exactly how I wanted. I went with it. I thought on the fly. And you can do that too. It's your artwork. It's your painting. You are very capable to adapt and adjust as you go. I have faith in you. I'm going to go right over my highlight and not worry about it. And that actually gives it a little bit of a sense of, I feel like I want to record this whole thing over for you again to avoid those camera shakes. All right, I'm going to do this one like right on the edge. You're only going to get to see a little bit of it. 4 petals, well, 2.5. There we go. And okay, we're done with our flowers. You could do another one up here, but I'm just going to fill in some of those gaps with some other design. So you can put swirls and dots or other geometric designs and patterns. I'm going to do just some of these like trumpet swirls, kind of coming from all different directions. Some wrapping around. And just filling in a lot of the gap space. And then I'm also going to add just some dots around some of the swirls. All right, let's do one in this space. There we go. And then I'm just going to do dot, 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 dot. Flesh them out a little bit better. Kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4. And some patterns work and some patterns don't. You can definitely practice different patterns. And then you find one you really like and you'll do it 1,000,000 times until you get tired of it, and then you won't do it again for like forever. I'm going to change up my dots. Oh, let's throw some dots in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we go. So we have another beautifully painted ornament and our dove. So this you can do, you could have certainly added like shapes like this, like the leaf branch and other shapes into this. I just kept it simple with flowers and different shapes with the dove. And like I said, you can do lots of different shapes that are reminiscent of the Christmas or holiday spirit, and then add in these embellishments, and it really makes a lovely and easy card idea that you can repeat over and over again. And then if you have stamps, like we've talked about in previous videos, you can stamp your sentiments above and below these lovely designs for a full effect. I'm just going to take a little bit of Payne's gray, and you can give your ornament a lovely little string if you want, or you can leave it without. It's up to you. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'm Shayna Searcy. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Definitely helps me out in the long run and gets more people to see my videos. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Leave comments if you have questions. Check out the description for colors, my supplies, links to join my studio crew to get outlines for different projects, as well as additional projects that aren't available on YouTube. Thank you again, everybody, and happy painting.